Hello, my name is Rico, and welcome to Media Overthinker, where we'll be talking about everything from movie reviews, movie theories, and dynamics of music and media, and of course, my overthinking comments. Maybe you are an overthinker too, someone who thinks about stuff that nobody else really cares about. You just think and think and think. Well, I'm here to be your company and to share those thoughts. In fact, as you're watching this video, if you would like to leave a comment, just sharing your overthinking, I would love to listen to it. Today, we are going to be talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I grew up watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I watched it when it was airing on TV, and I have pretty much watched it ever since. I've watched it on Netflix. They got rid of it there. I don't know why. Then they moved it to, they had it on Hulu and Amazon Prime. I've watched it on both of those as well. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is definitely one of my favorite shows. It's just because the characters are amazing. The development that they go through from season 1 all the way through till season 7 is just amazing. The story was amazing. I remember as a kid watching this for the first time and realizing that there could be a show that actually had memory. It was the first show outside of like Power Rangers and anime that actually remembered what happened in previous episodes. And the fact that Joss Whedon did it so perfectly. I mean, the things that you can see in the characters in the first 2 seasons and how they develop later on is really jaw-dropping. If you are a fan and you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is one of my favorite shows. I love it, and pretty much anytime somebody's willing to sit down and watch an episode, I will join them. But today, we're going to talk about something that I have a little bit of a problem with Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Joss Whedon, and that's something so stupid. It's just the term Scooby Gang. Joss Whedon and even the characters within the TV show have deemed themselves as the Scooby Gang. And rightfully so in a lot of ways, because the Scooby Gang is comprised of 5 members, and Team Buffy is almost always comprised of about 5 to 7 members. And as you can tell from this picture here, they're very similar, and actually this picture is quite accurate except for where the characters are positioned. So yes, there are definitely some similarities, and even the show itself, the characters call their group, they don't call themselves Team Buffy or Team Slayer, they call themselves the Scooby Gang or the Scoobies. Now, the first qualm that I have with the Scooby Gang is the fact that it doesn't always match up. And I'm just one of these people that's just like, what was Joss Whedon thinking? Or maybe was he? I don't know. So, we'll go ahead and get started character by character and run through the whole main character list of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from season 1 to season 7 and determine how they fit into the Scooby Gang in its truest form, as we see here. Now, as you can see in this picture, you have Willow, and Willow is pretty much Velma. She's book smart, she's got a high IQ, she's shy, and a lot of times can even be the leader of the group. You have Cordelia and Daphne, who are both pretty. They're both sometimes can be the valley girls of the group, and you have and sometimes she's actually even very helpful and very smart. But mostly she's just playing the ditzy girl in the group. Then you have Giles. Giles, I believe, is supposed to play Freddy in this scenario. The only similarity I see in Freddy and Giles throughout the show, though, is this bow tie and this tie. We'll talk more about it later, but I don't know if I really see any similarities. And then you have Shaggy and Xander. They're pretty much supposed to be the same character. And the wisecracking jokester, kind of the loser, solves a lot of problems on accident. And then lastly, that would leave Buffy, and Scooby. Uh, Now, this may be a little bit puzzling for some of you to think about, but yeah, that would leave Buffy as Scooby. And I always thought about that when I was a kid and as I've grown up watching the show, is that, every other character matched up pretty much, except for Scooby and Buffy. I mean, Scooby is actually the hero of the show. He's the main protagonist of the show, of course, but he doesn't really ever solve anything by being brave necessarily. He solves things mostly by accident with Shaggy. And then off in the distance, you see Velma, Daphne, and Freddy solving the issue. And if we were to rank who solves the issues from top to bottom in Scooby-Doo, it would most likely be Velma, Daphne, Freddy, then Scooby, maybe, Shaggy last, and then even worse than that, Scrap. So if we're including Scrappy, and we will soon, because we kind of need to. Now, granted, I'm going off my childhood memory in terms of who was ranked the best mystery solver of Scooby-Doo, but I'm pretty sure that I'm accurate in my assessment that Velma was number one, and that even though Daphne was supposed to be kind of like the side chick, she actually did solve the issues or catch up to Velma soon after, and then Freddy sometimes caught up. And I don't know if I'm kind of getting the movies mixed up with the Hanna-Barbera show, but either way, I'm pretty sure that this is accurate. And so that would actually leave, in my opinion, Buffy to be two characters within Scooby. I think she's actually a fusion between Scooby and Daphne. Now, I don't know if some of you agree with this or not. You can let me know in the comments, but I really think that she is a combination between the two because she's kind of the hero. She's a much more intentional hero than Scooby is, mixed in with Daphne. Now, the reason why I say Daphne is because Buffy, even within the show, has admitted to her friends, the Scoobies, that she used to be worse than Cordelia. So please give her some slack. Before she went to Sunnydale and before she burnt down her previous school and before even she found out she was the Slayer, she says that she was actually a pretty big ditz. She was a valley girl. She cared more about dresses and nails and looking pretty than anything else. So it wasn't until after she learned that she was the Slayer that she becomes more of a hero. And I would say that there's a lot of other people that could be Scooby in his real nature, but we're just going to go with it because they're calling themselves the Scooby Gang. Now, this leads me to believe that the Scooby Gang comparison is only good if you compare it to the original characters of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original group. And you can see that later on, we do definitely get to see Oz, and Angel joins in the first season, so he could be, like I said, another Freddy. But outside of these 7 characters, I don't think the Scooby Gang comparison actually works really well. And it just feels really silly to talk about this, but I've honestly just sat there for a long periods of time wondering how each character fits into each other. Now, we're going to talk about the rest of the characters in the show, but I wanted to at least skip ahead to season 5 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where an unexpected character shows up in Buffy Summers' house as her younger sister who's always been there. And this is Dawn Summers. Actually, a lot of people don't like Dawn. She's very annoying. She came into the 5th season and they made it seem like she was always there the whole time. Now, this leads me to believe that the Scooby Gang comparison is only good if you compare the Scooby Gang to Team Buffy, Team Buffy's 5 main characters. And that would be Buffy, Xander, Willow, Giles, and Cordelia. But the problem is also later on in season 1, we get to meet Angel, who maybe he's another Freddy. And then we also get Oz, who is supposed to be like the actual physical version of Scooby, which that's because he becomes a werewolf, and so a werewolf is like a dog. Moving on though, we still have quite a few characters to talk about. We have Anya, Faith, Riley, Tara, Spike, Kennedy, and Andrew. Now, I'm not really going to talk about Kennedy. She's not one of my favorite characters. I don't like what they did with her. The rest of the potentials were fine, and I don't know why they chose Kennedy of all people to be a part of Willow's story. It didn't really seem to match up. She was just annoying, didn't have any idea of what was going on with the whole tenure of the Scooby gang and what they went through, the experience, and she thought she could just fit in. So I think they tried to make her a part of it, but I just don't like Kennedy, so we're just gonna leave it at that. And I guess I should give some time to Andrew. I don't like Andrew either. He's basically a well, we'll talk about that later, but yeah, Andrew is we'll give him some time since he actually was considered a actual Scooby. Now, out of those characters, the first character up is actually Dawn. I want to cover her first because around season 5, actually it was season 4, the last episode, we get a little hint that something's gonna change, but of course it didn't make any sense at all to any of the viewers who were watching at the time. And on season 5, episode 1, we find out that Buffy has a younger sister. We've never seen her throughout all of the other 4 seasons, and they just make her out to actually be, someone who was a part of the show for the whole time. And this was very surprising. She was annoying, she was sweet, she was fun, and she was once again annoying. So a lot of people didn't like Dawn. They didn't understand what was going on, and I think I was kind of a part of that for a while. It was kind of like somebody who was telling a joke, and then they didn't tell you until after the punchline was over that it was a joke. So they went on for a good 5 or 6 episodes before they let us know what was really going on. And then we found out that Dawn was here to stay, like she wasn't going anywhere. So this is very similar to another character, a character from Scooby-Doo. You guys may know this character, Scrappy-Doo. Scrappy-Doo was added in a lot later on in the Scooby-Doo series, as I believe he is Scooby-Doo's nephew. I think, if childhood memory serves me right, Scrappy-Doo is Scooby-Doo's nephew, and so I think he used to say like Uncle Scooby or something like that. I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. But Scrappy kind of filled the same hole. I mean, he was supposed to bring new life to the show, represent the youthful audience. Kids were supposed to think he was cool and cute and want to be like him. He could talk, but he was also very annoying. And I think that was represented well in the movie, because later on in the movie he becomes a villain and tries to take down the rest of the actual Scooby gang. That was really weird. Nevertheless, Scrappy-Doo and Dawn are synonymous in my opinion. I believe that they were supposed to be modeled after each other, so Dawn was definitely modeled after Scrappy. And I'm completely fine with that. She is a part of the Scooby gang in my opinion. Next we have Faith. Faith is probably my favorite character in all of the Buffy. Out of all of the Buffy characters, she is probably one of the most complicated characters. She was good, then she goes bad, and then she's like an anti-hero, and then she becomes good again, and then she just goes off and does her own thing with Giles later on in the comics. So she has quite a bit of a background story, and I think her character arc is one of the funnest things in season 3, let alone all of Buffy. But if it wasn't for Faith, Buffy wouldn't have gone down some paths herself. So Buffy in some ways owes Faith a detriment. A lot of she owes her quite a bit. And at the end of season 4, Buffy and Faith get to have a conversation, finally a mutual conversation, and they kind of see things eye to eye, as they both share the title of the one and only Slayer. But Faith, in my opinion, as awesome as she doesn't really fit any of the Scooby Gang roles. She's not any one of those personalities. She's not Scooby. She's a violent fighter. Even when she's good, she is brash. She is a brute. She will rough you up. She fights like she's on the street. So that's definitely not like Scooby, even stretching it. She's not on purpose funny. She's sarcastic and she speaks her mind. So she's not like Shaggy. She's not an upstanding, fine, older person. So she's not like Freddy. She's not a pretty girl. I mean, she's pretty, but she's not a valley girl like Daphne or Cordelia. And she's definitely not a dog. So she doesn't fit into any of those roles. Oh, she's definitely not Velma. I forgot to leave her out. So I cannot include Faith in any of these personalities. She is her own character, and that's what made her special. Now, the next few characters that we have are Anya. Anya is right here. She is basically Cordelia's replacement. She is funny, she's ditzy, she's absent-minded, she doesn't really know what's going on, which I really never understood about her character, because she's supposed to be this demon that lived for thousands of years. I mean, she was a Wiccan or a witch that existed back then that was practicing magic, and then she was offered to become a much more powerful demon, and she took it out of vengeance, as she's known as a vengeance demon. Anyways, over-explaining, overthinking. Anya, she doesn't really fit the mold of Daphne, in my opinion. She doesn't fit the mold of Cordelia, but in an effort to be more creative and not have a clone character, I think which is actually pretty cool, because a lot of people do that. I mean, let's look at all the brunettes in Criminal Minds, brunettes and blondes. How many times they're gonna try to do that? But you have Anya, who was a very interesting addition to the group. I don't think Joss Whedon liked the character in the end, because he just ended up apathetically offing her in the last episode. I felt so bad. Like, I actually kind of miss her. She was a cool character. But yeah, Anya doesn't fit the mold. She's not any part of the actual Scooby-Doo group. And then we have Riley. Riley is actually the correct Freddy. He is a soldier. He's a stand-up guy. He looks like Freddy a little bit. He's brave. Sometimes he's kind of dopey. He is the correction to Freddy that Giles and maybe Angel never were. So that's cool. They brought him in. He fits into the mold of Freddy, but he was only there for about a season and a half. So that was very short-lived. Then we also have Tara. Tara came into the group around season 4 when Buffy and Willow go to college. She becomes Willow's lover, as you all know. One of the first homosexual relationships on TV. Remember being very surprised by it myself as well. But the way they did it was very tasteful. It was very, it was normal. So Tara was a great character, but she does not fit into the mold of any Scooby-Doo character. She is not at all like Willow in terms of being a little bit of a leader, in terms of being a genius or anything like that. And she is shy, but Velma's not necessarily, her strongest feature is not that she's shy. It's that she's smart. Actually, she's quite a leader. If you if you go back and watch Scooby-Doo. So Tara does not fit into any other of the Scooby-Doo gang, and she is really just used as a tool for Willow to grow. And she was very necessary, and does she help Willow grow in various many ways. So we do see that within the show. And then there's Spike. Spike is let me just put the laser pointer right on his face so you can't see who he is, but that is Spike. I don't really like Spike, actually. As a character, he was somebody who I had to learn to like in the show because he was always the dirty villain. And later on, when you see some of the things that go on between him and Buffy, I didn't like it. I really didn't want him. It's kind of like that feeling you get if you're a younger brother and you go somewhere with your sister, you don't like other guys looking at your sister. It's kind of that feeling that I get from Spike. And Spike is also a misnomer. He does not belong as any one of the Scooby gangs. He is, if anything, another version of Scrappy. Just annoying, causing more troubles, can't really do anything, just running around, just causing troubles. And very attached to Scooby. So maybe there's a Scrappy comparison there, and maybe he could be considered an Freddy. I don't know. He's a complicated character, and if they had killed him off, I would have been fine. But I know a lot of people will think differently about him, so that's cool. And then, like I said, we're not going to talk about Kennedy, but we will talk about Kennedy in terms of the fact that I don't really like her. I don't think she was a good character. She was very arrogant. She complained about a lot of things. She wasn't somebody who I thought was a part of the group, and not the best for Willow's transition. If there was another TV show season of Buffy, I would have hoped that they did not make her main character. I would have hoped that they put Robin in as the next Scooby Gang member, being the son of a Slayer himself. He would have been much more valuable to the team, and his relationship with Buffy could have been interesting. Faith. His relationship with Faith could have been interesting. Andrew. So we have to talk about Andrew. Yeah, he's kind of like a Xander replacement, I guess. He is really annoying. He is really useless. I don't know how much he actually offered to the group, but I guess Joss Whedon liked him. I think he was actually one of the vampires in season 4 when Buffy goes to college. And then I guess he liked him, so he brought him back. But I did not like his character. Either way, I suppose that he fits the Shaggy mold, the very awkward Shaggy mold. And with Xander becoming a lot more like Freddy near the end of the Buffy series, I suppose that he could be Shaggy. So I will include him as one of the Scooby members, but it's a stretch for me. So yeah, like I said, this show's called Media Overthinker, and that's what I do. Hopefully you do too. And let me know what you guys think about these characters and how they relate to the actual Scooby Gang. So far, I don't think even half of them match up to the actual Scooby Gang. I think it's just that those 5 core characters, not even including Buffy herself, that fit the exact mold of the Scooby Gang. So just once again, running down that list, we have Buffy as the hybrid between Daphne and Scooby. We have Willow as Velma. We have Xander as Shaggy, who actually ends up becoming Freddy, but kind of like the dumb Freddy, not the confident, smart Freddy. Sometimes there's actually an episode about that. Oh, there's an episode about that with the coin. Yeah. Anyways, then Giles. And then after you think about all that, all the Freddys that there are, there's Xander, Giles, and possibly Spike, and then Riley. Giles, I don't know where he really fit in. I mean, he was kind of his own thing. Maybe he was one of the extra characters who was a good guy in every episode of Scooby, one of the helpers. And then we have Angel. I'm going to call him Dark Freddy. We have Oz, who is Scooby. We have Anya, who's the demented version of Daphne. We have Faith, who is Buffy's Heartless. We have Riley, who's Freddy. We have Tara. She doesn't fit into the group anywhere. She's basically Willow's yang to her yin or whatever. Yin to her yang. And lastly, we have Spike, who is Bleach Bad Boy Freddy. So that's how I classify the Scooby group. The Scooby gang, the Scoobies from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I would never call them Team Buffy just because, well, Angel might have called them Team Buffy because it was Team Angel, Team Buffy. But I would never call them Team Buffy within the realm of the show because they were the Scooby gang. And we can see here that they very much so look like the Scooby gang. So, once again, let me know what you guys think about the Scooby gang and how the characters fit into them. Maybe I had it all wrong. Maybe you can reveal to me 20 years worth of pondering and correct my bad thoughts and my overthinking about this situation. Either way, once again, my name is Rico. Thanks for joining in today. And please like if you liked what we talked about today and leave a comment for me so I can hear what your thoughts are.